As we should all know, Britain now has a lot of railway history. So I've challenged me and my friend to locate some of the historic railway stations in and around of the city of Milton Keynes. So this series isn't just about railways, it's about the communities and towns that these railways serve as well, and why some of these railways mean quite a lot to myself. So sit back and relax and enjoy the series. In a quiet stretch of Buckinghamshire countryside, just over 50 miles from northwest London, lies a place whose name would once echo across the world. A place that helped turn the tide of the Second World War and redefine the future of computing forever. This place is called Bletchley. Now part of the growing city of Milton Keynes, but once the setting of one of the most extraordinary hidden stories of the 20th century. This is the home of the codebreakers. With Station X being founded in the 20th century, also known as Bletchley, it served as a massive transport link to connect Oxford to Cambridge. With Bletchley not being far from Wolverton, another growing town, with the two towns only being around 5 miles apart, they always rivaled with each other on who could make the best things. This is seen by Wolverton producing some of the finest steam locomotives for the LNWR, and Bletchley serving as a vital transport hub for World War II. This meant that they were both as good as each other. With Wolverton losing a lot of its history, Bletchley still has Bletchley Park. It also still has the Roman road of the A5 nearby, with many historical sites alongside it. Bletchley now is also served as a popular tourist destination for people visiting Milton Keynes. And soon the transport link to Oxford to Milton Keynes will soon be open, bringing more visitors in. So let's take a deep dive and see what made Bletchley what it is today, starting with the roots. Bickeley, as it was called back then in the 12th century when it was founded, it started off as a hamlet before it became Bletchley. With St Mary's Church being built in the 12th century, it was expanded in the 13th and 5th centuries to make it bigger and more expandable for the town. With its Norman roots, you can really see the architecture. It stands out in the dull city of Milton Keynes. Nearby Bletchley was the rocking little town of Fenny Stratford. Known for selling baked goods, market foods, all sorts of delicious items and handmade gifts. This made Fenny Stratford what it is today, still a lovely market town and a lovely place to visit in Milton Keynes. The British Canal, once the railways of the 1700s, carrying coal, machinery and other industrial items to lead on the Industrial Revolution. Canals still hop about today, not really carrying goods, but carrying the love and the beautiful holidays. But what did this mean for Bletchley? Well, Fenny Stratford had the canal which led all the goods to come in, and the railway was in Bletchley too. So what did the railway need? coal, which the canals had quite a lot of. And if any of you were wondering, this church is only 5 minutes from the train station. With church hymns getting quieter and quieter, so did the town, until one day in 1938 that changed Bletchley forever.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or a large part of it were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
1939, and the Nazis are in charge of Germany. In September 1939, Adolf Hitler decided to invade Poland. With the British giving him time to leave Poland, he refused, and thus became World War II. World War II is the deadliest conflict the world has ever seen. World War II also led to the British Empire's downfall. With a lot of the country's money being spent on the war, there was little to none left. With great strong war forces like the RAF, the Royal Navy, this made sure that Britain would win this dreadful war. And a strong point to mention is the railways during this time. By the early 1940s, the railways had advanced to hold this World War tech, with railways like the Great Western Railway carrying refugees from London all the way to the southwest to seek refuge. Railways is something you can say really carried the home front, with the Great Western carrying goods across the whole entire western country, carrying troops from the southwest to London and then further up down to the ferries. But the Great Western wasn't the only railway during this time, and then we move over to Bletchley with the LMS. With the LMS being the only railway in the UK to cover England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland. This made the LMS the largest, with over 7,000 miles of track. Nowadays, the LMS is what we'd call the LNWR, which the LMS used to be. The LMS was the true life support for World War II, carrying thousands from Scotland, Wales and Ireland. With beautiful locomotive classes, with the fastest, Duchess of Sutherland, hitting 115 miles per hour. This meant the LMS could get from Scotland to London with speed, unlike their rivals, the LNER. Not only Bletchley was part of the LMS, so was Wolverton, with Bletchley having quite a large depot and a crossing where it met the Great Western Railway and the LNER. And this connection to Bletchley would be vital in World War II. With Adolf Hitler starting the Blitz in the 1940s, this led mass destruction upon London and the many terminus stations. Even the London Underground wasn't safe. Thousands of people would sleep in the stations trying to shelter from the bombs above. But because of all this bombing, the British needed somewhere secret, somewhere to hide, and they chose Bletchley Park. Built in 1877, Bletchley Park started off as a small country estate. During the 1870s, the world was changing, along with the railways. Steam trains were being introduced all around the globe. Bletchley train station was built during the Victorian period. But why did the British government choose a small stately home in the northeast of Buckinghamshire? Well, Bletchley Park was chosen for its strategic location and its availability to provide a secure environment for the government code and cipher schools. With the estate's proximity to the Universities of Oxford, Cambridge, which were expected to supply the many code breakers. With the estate being close to the train station, it was a key factor on the selection of the site. And to think, it all started off with a country stately home. Bletchley Park was converted in 1938 when it became the headquarters for the MI6 communications operation. Bletchley Park was also named Station X during this period. Born on the 23rd of June 1912, Alan Turing was an English mathematician and computer scientist. Alan Turing is one of the most brilliant masterminds of British history, and he led the Enigma mission at Bletchley Park. By the 1940s, Nazi Germany had nearly taken over all of Europe, having France, Belgium, Denmark, all sorts of countries. And because of this, some people thought Britain had no chance. But something at Bletchley Park changed this. In the 1940s, the British intelligence had found an Enigma machine. The German Enigma code was one of the most unbreakable codes known to man, having over 150 million possibilities. The code was thought to be unbreakable. Operation Ultra was led by Jonah Clark and Alan Turing and other mentionable people. And they worked day and night trying to crack this code. Alan Turing was the mastermind behind Ultra. He made the legendary bomb machine, costing around 100,000 at the time. The bomb machine was made to rapidly decipher German Enigma codes. Many people doubted Alan Turing's work, but this is what ultimately changed the war forever. Sadly, shortly after the World War, the bomb machine was dismantled. Thankfully, due to the people over at Bletchley Park, they built a replica in 2007. But all good things come to an end, just like Alan Turing. Unfortunately, in the 1940s, being a homosexual was illegal, and Alan Turing was found out to be gay. He was given two options: to stay in prison for 2 years, or to undertake hormonal therapy. Sadly, Alan Turing chose hormonal therapy, which led to the downfall of his mental health and eventually him taking his own life. But luckily, the legacy of Alan Turing and his machine still lives on at Bletchley Park today. With the code finally being cracked sometime in the 1940s, this led to an earlier end of the war. The war ended in 1945, with Adolf Hitler thought to be dead. This led to the end of a horrible time in Britain's history. Thankfully, the millions lost during World War II are not forgotten, as Bletchley Park on the 11th of November every year does a remembrance parade. In June 1839, the London-Birmingham Railway opened Bletchley train station. Bletchley train station was built as a key junction for the London and Birmingham Railway, as Bletchley was home to the vast City line connecting Oxford to Cambridge and beyond. Bletchley housed a small engine shed, a lovely viaduct, and beautiful station canopies. But unfortunately, in the 70s and 80s, the elegant style of the Victorian brickwork had disappeared. Sometime in the 1980s, in an attempt to modernise the railways, Long went with the old Bletchley train station. Around the same time, they built the new Bletchley train station, which still stands today. Luckily, not all is gone, as sometime this year they're planning to open the new East-West Rail. This is to connect Milton Keynes to Oxford via Bletchley. In 2024, work on the new Bletchley flyover and train station had been completed. With the original flyover being built in the 1950s and 60s, it was time for an upgrade. So now, let's go forward in time and see what Bletchley is like today. So as you can see, a lot of Bletchley has changed, but now we're going to move on to the next chapter. With a lot of the old Bletchley disappearing, Bletchley still stands as one of the most historical parts of Milton Keynes. Bletchley, since the LMS days and the Network Rail days, it's now become London North Western. And soon in upcoming years to run trains from Milton Keynes to Oxford. As stated at the beginning of the documentary, Bletchley still has many historical sites. Bletchley train station doesn't just have East-West Rail, it also has the Marston Vale line. Designed and built in 1845, the Marston Vale line was built to connect two university cities. Bletchley and Bedford were the destinations of this branch line. Avoiding years of trying to take it down, the Marston Vale still stands today, proudly holding Bletchley's heritage. The Marston Vale also holds as a very popular destination point for rail tours and other excursions. As at the moment, as well as the Marston Vale, East-West Rail is currently holding a lot of rail tours until its opening. Another fascinating fact about Bletchley, if you ever go to the station, take a look behind the fencing and you might come across the old Royal Mail station. The mail platform served for a number of years until its closure in 2015. So if you're ever passing Milton Keynes or just want to pay a visit, think of Bletchley and the beautiful lakes, Bletchley Park and the history. There are also other sights to see in the city of Milton Keynes, which is next month's episode. We'll be taking a deep dive in the old Nobby Newport Pagnell line. For the time and effort I put in these documentaries, I wouldn't mind a like and subscribe. Remember, they don't cost anything. But overall, past the jokes about Bletchley, it still remains a very historical part of Milton Keynes. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.